Hello, viewers. Before we begin, take a second to subscribe and turn on the bell icon to get notified when we drop part 2 of this amazing love story. 8 years have passed, and they meet again, but she has his twins. Now enjoy. The low hum of the airplane engines filled the cabin as Amah stared out the window, watching the vast city lights of Seoul come into view. The sight stirred something deep inside her, memories she had tried to bury, emotions she thought she had moved past. Yet, here she was, returning to the place where everything began. "Mummy, I need my chocolate," one of her sons called out, pulling her from her thoughts. "Mummy, I want my favorite biscuits," the other chimed in. Amah turned to her twin boys, smiling despite the ache in her chest. "Oh, my two stubborn sweethearts, don't worry. Mummy's got you covered." She reached into her bag and handed them their treats. "Thank you, Mummy," they chorused happily before settling back into their seats. Within moments, their small bodies relaxed into sleep, leaving Amah alone with her thoughts as the plane ascended into the sky. Her mind drifted back to where it all started. Years ago in Seoul, South Korea, Amah had come to South Korea with dreams as vast as the sky. A bright and determined woman from Ghana, she had received an opportunity through a close family friend, a successful businesswoman who had lived in Korea for years. With high hopes, she arrived in Seoul as an international student, ready to build a future for herself. Life in a new country wasn't easy, but she adapted quickly. She was hardworking, intelligent, and outspoken, and she knew exactly what she wanted: to become a top marketing executive. Her focus was unwavering, but fate had other plans. It all started with an unexpected encounter. Amah met Jisoo on a rainy afternoon outside her university library. She had forgotten her umbrella, and just as she was about to make a run for it, a tall, warm presence appeared beside her, holding out an umbrella. "Here," he said with a gentle smile. That small act of kindness turned into something neither of them saw coming. They became close, so close that before they knew it, love had wrapped around them like an unbreakable thread. Jisoo was different from anyone she had ever met. He was kind, patient, and deeply devoted to her. He was also older than her and in a different department. But none of that mattered. When he finally confessed his feelings during one of their late-night walks along the Han River, she didn't hesitate to say yes. Their love was effortless, consuming, and full of promise. But there was one thing Amah never knew about Jisoo, that he was the son of a billionaire. His father, Kang Min-seok, was the owner of KM Global Enterprises, one of the biggest conglomerates in South Korea. Ironically, Amah had always dreamed of working for that very company, unaware that the man she loved was its heir. Jisoo never talked much about his family, not because he was ashamed, but because he knew how complicated things would become. He wanted to tell Amah in his own way, at the right time. He knew his parents had expectations. His father had even tried setting him up with a wealthy business associate's daughter at a corporate event. But Jisoo had always chosen his own path, and falling in love with Amah was the best decision he had ever made. As graduation approached, he was ready to take things further. He proposed to Amah, and without hesitation, she said yes. "I'll talk to my family," he assured her. "No matter what happens, we'll be together." Amah wanted to believe him, but deep down, she was afraid. Her father back home was supportive but wary. "Love is one thing, my daughter," he had told her over the phone. "But will his family accept you? That is the real question." Jisoo was confident he could make his parents see reason, so he finally told them about Amah, leaving out the detail of her nationality. His father was pleased that he had found someone, but he had assumed it was the girl he had introduced to him months ago. The day of the big introduction arrived, and Amah was nervous but excited. She had no idea what kind of family Jisoo came from, and nothing could have prepared her for what she saw when they arrived. The house wasn't just a house, it was a mansion, a symbol of wealth beyond imagination. Amah's heart pounded as she turned to Jisoo. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered. "I wanted you to love me for me," he replied, holding her hand tightly. But nothing could stop what happened next. The moment his parents saw her, the atmosphere shifted. The warmth in his father's voice disappeared. His mother barely looked at her. The reality sank in. She was not the woman they had expected. Dinner was tense. Jisoo's father barely spoke, and when he did, it was curt. His mother's smile was forced, her eyes calculating. And then came the blow. "We had certain expectations for Jisoo's future," his father said coldly. "And this is unexpected." Amah felt her chest tighten. She had worked so hard to build a life in this country, and now with a single disapproving look, it felt like it was crumbling. After dinner, she pulled Jisoo aside. "This will never work," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "Yes, it will," he insisted. "I'll fight for us." She loved him, she truly did, but she couldn't stand the thought of being the reason he was torn between love and family. That night, they spent their last moments together. Jisoo held her close, whispering promises, unaware that in her heart she had already made her decision. The next morning, he woke up to a message. "Jisoo, I love you, but I can't be the reason you fight with your family. I can't do this anymore. Please don't look for me." He ran to her apartment, but she was gone. Her number was disconnected. She had vanished without a trace. And just like that, the love of his life disappeared, leaving him shattered. Back to the present day. On the airplane, Amah let out a shaky breath as she gazed at the city below. 8 years. It had been 8 long years. She had built a life for herself, found success, and most importantly, she had raised her boys alone. She looked down at her sons, their peaceful faces as they slept. Her boys. Jisoo's boys. She had never regretted having them. They were her greatest joy. But the past had a way of catching up with the present. And as the plane touched down in South Korea, she knew. No matter how much she tried to avoid it, she was about to walk back into the life she had once left behind. The moment Amah stepped off the plane, the cool air greeted her, carrying a crisp scent of rain from earlier in the day. The airport was alive with travelers, some rushing, some waiting, and others lost in quiet conversations. She adjusted the designer trench coat draped over her shoulders, a symbol of how far she had come since leaving this country 8 years ago. She pulled out her phone, scanning for the message from her boss. "Someone will be there to pick you up. You'll be in good hands." Amah exhaled softly, steadying herself. This contract was her biggest yet, a game-changing deal that proved she was no longer just a young girl who had left South Korea behind. She was now a top international marketing strategist, trusted to handle global expansion deals. Her 2 children, Juwon and Jihyo, stood beside her, their small hands tucked in hers. The twins looked around curiously, their matching deep brown eyes taking in the airport's surroundings. "Mommy, is the person here yet?" Jihyo asked softly. Amah forced a smile. "Almost, baby." She scanned the waiting area, looking for the person her boss had arranged to pick them up. Then she saw him. A tall, well-dressed man stood ahead, holding a sign with her company's name. His tailored black suit fit effortlessly, his white shirt crisp against his sharp features. He was slightly taller than she remembered, more refined, more powerful. But his eyes, those deep, familiar eyes, still carried the same intensity. Her breath hitched. "Jisoo." Amah's grip tightened around her children's hands. No, this wasn't possible. Jisoo, unaware of her reaction, finally looked up from his phone, ready to greet the consultant his company had hired. Then his entire body went still. His brows furrowed as if trying to make sense of what he was seeing. And then recognition. His gaze met Amah's, a storm of emotions flashing in his eyes. Shock, disbelief, something deeper. But before he could say anything, his gaze dropped to the 2 children beside her. John and Hana stared back at him, their tiny faces mirroring his features, his eyes, his sharp nose, even the way Juwon unconsciously furrowed his brows the way Jisoo always did. Amah felt her pulse in her throat. This was not how he was supposed to find out. Jisoo took a slow step forward, his breath unsteady. "Amah?" His voice was softer than she expected, but it carried the weight of 8 years of unanswered questions. Amah straightened her shoulders, masking her emotions with a carefully practiced smile. "Hello, Mr. Kim," she said smoothly, pretending as if they were strangers. Jisoo's jaw tightened, but his eyes never left the children. A mixture of realization, confusion, and something dangerously close to pain flickered across his face. But before he could speak, Juwon tugged at Amah's coat. "Mommy, who is this man?" Amah swallowed hard. Jisoo inhaled sharply, as if her words had knocked the air out of him. Then, after a long pause, he straightened himself. He wasn't going to confront her, not here, not now. Instead, he exhaled slowly and forced a professional smile. "Welcome to South Korea," he said, his voice steady, but his eyes told a different story. Amah nodded stiffly, gripping the twins' hands tighter as Jisoo led them toward the waiting car. She could feel his gaze on her the entire way. And she knew this was only the beginning.